All right, let's do it.
Both of you are under arrest for prostitution.
It's not prostitution.
You paid her to have sex.
No, I paid her to have sex and we're filming it. So technically it's not prostitution, it's a porno.
Oh, well, as long as you're filming and selling it, it's legal. Enjoy your day. Remember, kids, she's not a whore if she's an actress.
This has been a message from the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints.
Yo, what's going on, y'all? This your man Marcus A. Brown once again, and today I want to share my thoughts on what they call blowing up the spot. Or in other words, taking photos, videos, or speaking openly on the internet about legalized prostitution and sex tourism destinations. But first, let me start with a brief disclaimer. These are my opinions only. I am a strong advocate for legalized prostitution between two consenting adults, and I do not support or endorse any form of sex trafficking or sex with minors in any shape, form, or fashion, okay? I'm not talking about none of that. I'm talking about legalized prostitution between two consenting adults. That's what I'm an advocate for. Now that we got that out the way, I want to share my thoughts on what exactly is this blowing up the spot, okay? Where did this concern come from and why? Now, blowing up the spot is a term that you'll hear mostly coming from men who travel to sex tourism destinations, okay? These are different places in different countries where prostitution is legal, and oftentimes they have their own districts or areas where the businesses are set up to accommodate tourists in general, but more specifically, sex tourists. So this is in no particular order. This is just however it comes to mind at the time. But to keep it short and sweet, I would say the main reason that a lot of guys get so worked up about cats blowing up the spot is because it's an interesting topic. It definitely attracts attention and it raises questions. I think that last part is really what triggers a lot of people. It raises questions, you know? Some guys come across channels like this and they want to ask more questions because they're interested. Some guys want to know more about it so they can talk shit about it. And the ladies, especially the ladies in the US, you know, especially bitches that are friends on you or girls that date guys that travel, they come across channels or topics like this and they go way down the rabbit hole trying to figure out, okay, how many guys are actually out here doing this? And more importantly, the guys that I like, do they know about this? Are they doing this? So that's one reason it raises questions. A lot of guys go down there. I won't say they don't have no business down there, but you know, they have situations going on at home where they're not completely being honest about it. They don't want to get in trouble with their girl. They don't want to get in trouble. Maybe they got like a prestigious job, which I can partially understand. But a lot of dudes, they go to other countries just to flex and they want to live this facade back at home and they don't want to be put on blast about it. Like, I've seen a lot of people on the internet that say, yeah, go to these other countries because everybody loves the black man, or everybody loves me because I'm just this cool person, so everybody look at me, right? And that could be partially true to an extent, but that ain't the whole story. They not telling y'all that you can pretty much pay for whatever you want in certain countries or certain areas, I say. So for a nigga like me to be sitting on the internet telling everybody, hey, if you go over here, you got the option on whether you want to traditionally date a chick or buy some ass. Me, I'm interested in both, you know what I'm saying? Depending on how I feel that day. I don't have a problem saying that because I don't really have to answer to nobody. But for people who want to live that facade, I can absolutely see why, you know, blowing up the spot is a big deal to them because you're potentially taking all the hot air out of their facade. And so they can't really give the illusion that they more interested than they really are, because all it really is you just went to a spot where you could pay chicks to do that legally on top of that. You know what I'm saying? So that's one reason, you know, too many motherfuckers flexing on social media and don't want to be 100 about it when somebody asks them. You know, most of the time I see that coming from younger cats, or like I said, niggas that's cheating on their girl. They don't want nobody seeing them down there. But another reason, and you'll hear this a lot from the older guys or veterans in that hobby, another reason people don't want you blowing up the spot has to do with the economies in these different countries. You know, as you start conversing with more expats, you'll find that a lot of them are retired guys from America, from Canada. You know, it's guys coming from Great Britain, Australia, Germany, a lot of military guys from everywhere. So basically, they're working with currencies that are much stronger than a local currency. So in other words, their dollar goes a lot farther, meaning it spends better, or they could buy more shit with it than the average person that's restricted to the currency that they're dealing with in that particular economy. And that makes all the sense in the world. That makes perfect fucking sense, especially if you're coming from one of these world-class countries, one of these state-of-the-art cities where living expenses is crazy up the ass. If you could go somewhere with the same amount of money that you just getting by with, and you could live like a king or live, you know, pretty comfortably, then it makes sense to do that. So for a person to have that perspective in regards to quote-unquote blowing up the spot, I don't think it has as much to do with being secretive or keeping shit under the radar as it does. You know, they don't want people going to these places bringing their first world mentalities down there. You know, I'm talking about cats that feel like they need to ball out everywhere they go. Like they need to rent the biggest mini McMansions and drive the fanciest cars, wear the fanciest clothes, the silver, the gold, all that. Making it rain in the club and all that. That's American shit. Like, leave that to these self-entitled bitches in the States and any other first world country. They already got their own little ecosystem going on in terms of living expenses and just the cost of everything in that economy, so especially in tourist areas. So when you get an influx of tourists that feel like they gotta ball out and they gotta, you know, do all this goofy shit to impress these chicks, it doesn't impress anybody. All it does is make people raise their prices on everything. The restaurants gonna raise their prices on food, the taxis raise their prices on transportation, and the chicks that's out there selling pussy, they raising their pussy prices. So it's like, all this showing off shit, they don't do nothing but, you know, it comes off as arrogant to some people. And for the guys, because there are some guys, they're not interested in prostitution. They actually want to explore their options in terms of dating foreign women. Some women are not impressed by that at all. On the contrary, they're insulted by that shit. You know, if you come around all arrogant, throwing your money around, thinking that that's, you know, supposed to compensate for your lack of personality or lack of an ability to communicate with them, they will be insulted by that shit. They'll look at you like, man, who the fuck you think you are? You know, fuck you and your American dollars or wherever you come from. Like, they'll really get insulted by some shit like that because to them, you kind of shitting on their culture. You know, you assuming that everybody out there is poor, and that's not the case. And now you're coming off as if you just showed up like you better than everybody because you got a little bit of money, and not everybody gives a fuck about your money. And the ones who do give a fuck about that, like I said, they kind of looking at you as a money bag anyway. So that's something to keep in mind when you go into these other countries. You know, that's another interpretation of what people could mean when they say you blowing up the spot. But before I go to the next one, let me say this. I'm going to just play devil's advocate for a minute. I understand when people say don't blow up the spot in terms of showing up, trying to be a celebrity, balling out and making it rain and shit. I get that. But what I don't necessarily agree with is when niggas start pocket watching and dick policing. I talked about this in other videos. That's basically, you know, any chick they see you with, they just want to ask you all these questions about how much did you pay this chick? How much did you buy her something to eat? Don't be feeding bitches. You know, come on, dude. You know, you'll get a lot of cats that do that. Some people, especially in these travel groups, they all love to boast about either what they getting for free or how they rip some chick off or they lowball this person. Or I don't move like that. You know, if that's what you do, that's cool. But me, I pay what the fuck people ask for, and if they ask it for something ridiculous, I just go somewhere else. I take my business elsewhere. That's all you gotta do. I've actually seen motherfuckers in the club, on the street, at the bars, negotiating, trying to haggle people out of everything. I'm talking about prices to get in the clubs, goddamn it, food, drinks, taxis, bitches, everything, you know what I'm saying? And I get it, because there are such thing as two different prices. You know, there's the tourist price, which is basically when they mark everything up for the goofies or the newcomers, and then there's the local price for the locals who live there or the expats who've been around the block a few times. So I get it, but you know, if you spending all day arguing with motherfuckers over $5 or $10, G, come on, fam. Like, if you gotta lowball motherfuckers and try to talk them down $10 or $15, like, do you really need to be out there? Why are you going to a whole nother country to try to, like, lowball bitches? The way I look at it, it's a little bit different. I look at it in terms of how much would whatever I'm doing at the time cost in the States. So if I'm eating at a nice restaurant, I like the food, I would ask myself, how much would this same dish in the same type of atmosphere, how much would that cost in Chicago? And I'm saving automatically right there. That's how I look at it. Same with the chicks. If I'm going on a date, if I'm just chilling on the beach, if I just want to sit down on a bench and eat ice cream with a bitch, like, how much is that costing me time-wise, money-wise, energy-wise? How much is that costing me in this particular environment as opposed to back at home? You know what I'm saying? But that's just me. Like I said, that conversation could go on forever and ever, but you will always have some guys it's like a circle jerk. They just having this dick measuring contest over who can do what for free or who can do what for cheap. The way I look at it, any vacation you go on, do, then you need to question if you even need to be going on vacation. Generally speaking, I don't go nowhere if I don't already have a budget for it. The only exception is this last trip that I took, because I stayed 9 days when I only intended to stay 3. And I still pulled that off, you know what I'm saying, without being cheap about it. So for these niggas just like, oh, how much did you spend on this? How much did you spend on that? That ain't everybody's business, you know what I'm saying? You'll know if you're getting ripped off or not. If you feel like, oh, this is a rip off, then don't do it. And that goes for wherever your travels may take you. Whatever country you're in, it's always more women, it's always more restaurants, it's always another taxi. So if you don't like the price, then just don't do it. You know what I'm saying? Vote with your dollars elsewhere. Now I'm going to try to wrap this video up with this last point, and then I'm going to open the floor in the comment sections for y'all to let me know what y'all think. But this is kind of going back to the first point in regards to the opinions of others, but more specifically women. So that's my last interpretation of don't blow up the spot. Women, you know, everybody's concerned about what women think in their home country and abroad. So they don't want females finding out that they go into these other countries because, like I said, if you're coming from a country like the United States where prostitution is illegal, at least in 99.9% of the country, if you're coming from one of these countries, then it's considered a shameful act and it's not socially acceptable. And bitches, quite frankly, will be outraged if they knew that you was going to get pussy somewhere else. So a lot of guys are dissatisfied with the dating market in these first world countries, especially in America. But they rather not rock the boat and risk the chance that women in their home countries will find out that they rather go to other countries abroad to live out their dreams than to, say, buy into the American dream here at home or wherever they coming from. So a lot of men, they don't even complain. They just leave. You know, they just travel the world and they see what else is out there. While all the women are sitting around single trying to figure out where all the good men have gone. Well, all the good men, the smart men, have taken their money elsewhere where they can live their life the way they want to live without all the hassle. And even when men do decide to speak out and express their dissatisfactions with the dating game, women, for the most part, don't really give a fuck. You know what I'm saying? On one hand, they want you to express yourself as a man, and on the other hand, they want you to shut the fuck up. So at the end of the day, all this talking is null and void. That doesn't even register on most women's radar out here. What does register to them is men going outside of the country to get whatever it is that they want, whether that's relationships, sex, or both. And it goes back to that thing that we always say about women. They don't want to fuck you, but they don't want anybody else fucking you. So men are going to other places and they living their life, they living cheaper, actually. They having better success with women. And it's one thing to hear guys talking about that online, but when you actually start seeing visuals, when you got guys like me that's vlogging about it, and people that's taking pictures and videos, like that's what motherfuckers is talking about when they say blowing up the spot. Because now bitches is paying attention to this shit. And that, not MGTOW, but that registers with bitches. That shit penetrates the reptilian brain. You know what I'm saying? It's potentially a threat to their standard of living because we don't have enough simps, we don't have enough goofies and lames and blue pill beta males buying into our system anymore because they taking their money and they thirst to other places and they actually satisfied doing that. Okay, so that's one way we could look at blowing up the spot in regards to women in countries where prostitution is illegal. In regards to the women in the countries or the spots where prostitution is legal, it could be considered blowing up the spot when you filming all this shit. Because a lot of chicks, they don't really want to be on camera. Pretty much for the same reason a lot of tourists don't want to be on camera. You know, they all have lives outside of whatever they doing in these spots. Say, for example, if some of these working girls are from out of town or out of the country and they just relocate somewhere to do whatever they do, and then they the good girl or the no Walt, the not all women I like that type chicks back at home, then they don't want to be on camera. They don't want it being exposed that they in a town doing some shit that they don't want people knowing that they doing. And to an extent, I understand that. I actually respect that. Personally, my solution to that is real simple. And this goes for the females, for the fellas, anybody around me. If I'm filming myself and you don't want to be on camera or you don't want to be seen in this environment, then get the fuck from around me. Alright? I do Snapchat, I do Instagram, Facebook, YouTube. And I joke around with the chicks like that too. I say, look, you might be on YouTube, but I ain't gonna have you on Pornhub. You know what I'm saying? You ain't gotta worry about that with me. But if you see me filming myself, if you don't want to be on camera, if you don't want videos or photos, then I suggest you move around, because I'm gonna do me. And that's usually all you gotta do and everything will work out, you know. Sometimes some people might want to be on camera, you know, especially if they promoting a business or they just want to get down how they live or they extroverted like that. You know, I done gave a couple of people shout outs and they got back to me and said, I'm eating off that shit, you know. But yeah, that's about it, man. That's all I gotta say for right now. blowing up the spot, what do y'all think about it, man? Is it a good thing, a bad thing? Are there pros and cons? Let me know your thoughts. Let me know what y'all think, and I'll holler at y'all in the comment section. Peace.
That's all the fuck I be on. I'm all in the mall and the bitches be looking like. Fuck he be on. I told that little bitch she should tell that little bitch I say. Fuck she be on. They tryna